Hello. we will also be starting the session in 5 minutes. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Works.
Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Actually, there are some limitations on number of attendees. So we take this link generated by faculty only. They didn't make us presenters, so that was the issue.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. A lot of people actually, like 100 people, and like a lot of people from first year as well. And
yes, some of them have not received their college ID, so that's one issue as well.
Got it. Okay. A lot of people from first year actually, like first year people and second year people. Looks at third also, and like a couple of them from fourth year also. Good audience, but like majority of them is like first year. So interesting.
What do you mean by a couple of people of them have not received college ID?
Yo, what's up? Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good evening, I guess, to you guys.
Yeah, bro, it's like 7:45 here.
7:45.
Okay. Let's wait for 2 more minutes, then we are good to go.
Yes, works. Are we streaming this on YouTube or no? Okay. Can you just send the link in the chat so like I can access it? Is any faculty also there in the meeting or just like students?
No, there are only students only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to keep the session as interactive as possible. So if possible, turn on the camera, ask questions, and more than happy to answer them candidly. Okay, I guess then we can start. We can start with our introductions, and we can go ahead with the session.
Sir, should I start?
Yeah, we can go on.
So good evening, everyone. I am Khushi Chakke, and on behalf of PICT ACM Student Chapter, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this roundtable discussion on pursuing MS, financial aspects, and beyond. Pursuing a master's abroad is a dream for many of us, but it also comes with several challenges, from managing finances and securing scholarships to making informed decisions about universities and career paths. To help us navigate through this journey, we have with us two accomplished speakers who have successfully walked this path and are here to share their experiences, insights, and practical advice. Our first speaker today is Ayush Gala. Ayush Bhaiya is currently pursuing his master's in computer science at North Carolina State University. He has worked as a software engineer intern at Mastercard and as a junior product developer at Newton's Apple. Additionally, he has gained valuable experience as a research and developer engineer intern at Reverie Language Technologies. Joining us today is Sohan Joshi, a graduate student pursuing his master's in management of technology at New York University. Sohan Bhaiya has worked as a business development analyst at Searce Inc., bringing valuable industry experience to the table. He is passionate about content creation and knowledge sharing, running a YouTube channel with 720 plus subscribers, where he shares insights on personal growth, career advice, and student life in the US. He also writes on Medium about productivity and career decisions. His newsletter, inProgress, with 200 plus weekly readers, covers lessons from his tech and business classes at NYU, along with real-world takeaways on entrepreneurship, marketing, and strategy. Both Ayush Bhaiya and Sohan Bhaiya have first-hand experience navigating the challenges of pursuing an MS abroad, from financial planning to career growth. Today, they are here to share their journey, insights, and advice to help you make well-informed decisions. Without further ado, let's dive into the discussion.
Ayush can go on.
Thank you so much, Khushi. Yeah. Just a little bit more about what I've been doing in my MS, because all of this is regarding my bachelor journey and my previous experiences. Some of you might be wondering, hey, what are you doing in your MS? What's happening in the US? So I've been pursuing my master's in computer science, but my specialization is in high performance computing. So those of you who are in third or fourth year might know about this subject, especially those in computer engineering. I don't know the syllabus for AI and DA. But yeah, high performance computing is about scalable computing or scientific computing, where you have a lot of parallel programming and you have a lot of GPU processing, scalable computing, things to do with servers and things to do with scalable backend services. And it involves a lot of operating systems, compiler programming, and low-level system design. I have a little bit of ML experience as well. So I've been trying to blend sort of AI architecture and backend services together. That's the summary sort of goal of my master's journey. And of course, I'm side by side, I'm looking for internships and I'm looking for full-time roles as well. It's a little bit about my introduction. Maybe, Soham, you can touch upon the specifics of your master's journey as well.
Yeah, sure. So I studied electronics and telecommunication at PICT, but the thing is, like, we had 2 years of online college because of COVID and 2 years of offline college. So in the first and second year, when we were sitting at home, I used to listen to a lot of like business books, business podcasts and all of that. I really got interested into the business side of things. Like, the core idea of me joining PICT was to really become a robotics engineer, and get into all of those fields. But I think first and second year sitting online changed my complete trajectory of like my interests. I got to know like what is it that I really am interested about and what is it that I wish to explore. And I think all the experiences that aligned in my third year, fourth year, like, giving me exposure to entrepreneurship, giving me exposure to VC, which is venture capital. I don't know how many people know about this, but it's an interesting space to be in. Side projects and content creation and all of that got me into more of like business side of things, while also staying in touch with the technical industry, because like we are all a part of PICT, so a lot of things happen over here. So kind of concluded that it's a good decision for me to move into like more business side of things, get more business exposure, while also keeping the technical aspect of my education with me. So that's why I interned at Searce in the first 3 semesters of my fourth year. Actually, like this time last year I was working with Searce, where I got an exposure to the business side of things, with like tech in center. And like I applied to a lot of like these techno management kind of programs, which is a blend of both technical courses and management courses. So the thing with NYU is that they usually like all the courses keep tech at center, so like everything around computer science, but at a very application layer, meaning that they are teaching you to think about the business applications of technology that's coming up, that was existing. We have a lot of case studies that are being discussed. So this is like the core idea of the course. Gives you huge exposure to like the business side of things, something that I'm really interested in. So that is something that I'm studying at NYU. Really love that. Apart from that, again, like being in New York is a blessing. So, I keep on meeting a lot of founders, keep on meeting a lot of VCs in the city. And, it's an amazing exposure so far. And yeah, if any one of you, I know a lot of people in PICT who get into the technical side of things, but sooner or later they develop interest towards management, because maybe talking to people, learning about business and all of that comes kind of naturally to them. And there is not that much of an established path in PICT. Like, how do you go about this apart from CAT and all of those Indian MBA entrance exams? So any one of you who has that slight interest of like in management and stuff, please reach out to me. I can help you in every possible way. That's pretty much it for me.
Right. So we were sort of hoping to see what kind of questions you guys have, because I see a lot of first years and second years, and so um, maybe the financial aspects of MS we will cover on that towards the end, but maybe those are not as relevant for you guys. So I
Yeah.
want to ask, what is it that you guys want to know from us regarding this field path? Maybe it's just another path for you to explore. Maybe you want to know how you can
Yeah.
maximize your bachelor journey for an outcome to be an MS degree in the US or maybe some other country. So what are some of the things you guys are looking for? If I can just have people interacting in the chat,
Yeah.
maybe unmuting, raising their hands, anything is fine.
So, I mean, just to add to this thing, the point is like we do have certain key pointers in mind to like sort of address in the session, but the session will be most helpful to you if you come up with the questions that you specifically have, because I see a blend of first year, second year, third and fourth year people. So the exposure that we give about MS might be relevant to some people, but not for everyone, or a smaller segment of people. So if you guys come up with questions, I think it creates a good blend of what first years want, second, third, fourth years want. So I think you can post it in the chat. More than happy to, like, if you unmute and just like speak out, more than happy to do that. Otherwise we can go with the structure that sort of we've like planned for the session. Yeah.
So if anybody has any questions, they should just raise their hands and we'll unmute their mics. And I guess there's also a question in the chat regarding scholarships.
Okay. Do you want to take it first?
Yeah. So the scholarships are a bit weird in North Carolina specifically, but I'll go over the general class of scholarships, right? So in the US, there's two different bodies that give out scholarships. There's a federal scholarship that comes from the central US government. And then there are state scholarships or specific university scholarships that come from the university or the state in which your university is, right? Federal scholarships are less in number, which is logical because you have the entire country looking after the entire country's taxpayers looking after the scholarships. And so it is very less likely that someone gets a federal scholarship. And in order to get a federal scholarship, you need to sort of be extremely aligned with your MS goals, and you need to have those relevant skill sets. You even need to have a good network in order to know that those scholarships exist and whether you fulfill the criteria for those scholarships. And then there are state scholarships or university scholarships, which are generally plenty in number, and you can get relevant information about them from either the university website or specific portals, which you can know about from your university coordinators. And generally, the applications for these scholarships start around the same time as your MS applications. I think once you get the MS admit, even during the application, actually, there's an option that you need to check if you want to avail those scholarships or if you want to be eligible for those scholarships. And so based on availability and based on the university's willingness to give that scholarship to you, you can either get it directly from the university or you can apply externally for those scholarships and avail them. Sohan, you want to talk something about?
Yeah, sure. So, again, I'll introduce a third element to this, which is like the scholarships that the Indian government has. So there are some institutes like big families in India, like Tata family, Birla family, they do have scholarships. Mahindra family also has a scholarship. And the thing is, like, the catch is like the scholarship deadline is way too early. Like for you to come here in August, let's say 2025, the scholarship applications, I think, open up in December, Jan or something, and they close by March. So even before you actually get the admits, the scholarship applications are closed. And obviously the selection criteria is pretty rigorous because a lot of people do apply. Secondly, it's highly competitive as well. So, you can look into all of that. You can look into, multiple sources online and then see what kind of scholarships does the Indian government and people in India provide. That's one thing about scholarships coming in from India. The second thing is like private scholarships that you mentioned. So private universities, usually when you're sort of working on the application, there is a scholarship essay, like why do you need the scholarship, and there's basically a prompt around it. So be very careful about when you're applying to universities and see if there actually are scholarships available, and if you need to write a different essay or a different, like, what do you call it, a different draft to sort of apply to these scholarships. So like I applied to Stanford and Cornell both, and both of them had this something called as the Knight scholarship, KNIGHT, Knight scholarship. So that is within the application. So these are the two things. Third thing is talking about the private university applications. So I don't know what's the criteria. I'm assuming that it's just the GPA that you have in your during your undergrad years, like which comes out to be an average. Let's say if you're applying in the third year, so like the average of the first 3 years is what they consider. And if they find it good, your academic record is good, I think they give you a scholarship. So like NYU, when I got my admit letter, I didn't have to write any separate essay. I didn't have to write anything. So the thing that they it was written in my admit letter is that you got into NYU with a $7,000 per year scholarship. So I don't know what the criteria was. They just wrote because of your academic excellence. So academic excellence, I'm assuming that it comes from the background that I had during PICT and all of that. So in some cases, and even Johns Hopkins also, I got into Johns Hopkins and the same thing happened, like $7,000 per year scholarship. Now, this might come from the fact that these are private universities and they want people to get in, they want to attract good people. So that's why they give scholarship. Like both the universities gave me a scholarship. So that is one thing. But the key idea, again, in the third point that I mentioned, is to keep your GPA as high as possible, especially the people who are in their first year right now. It's a very good thing. Like maintain a track record of GPA, try to keep it above like 9, ideally above 9. And in the worst case, like somewhere above 8.5 or something. And then, keep that track record. It really helps. And there's no loss, basically, if you get a good GPA, it shines everywhere. So especially if you're doing your master's, good GPA. Important. Yeah.
Just one small point. There's also fellowships. So these fellowships are not exactly like scholarships. They require you to either work in the university, either under some professor as an assistant or in some lab. These are different. These are also different from the assistantship positions. So assistantships are sort of on campus. They're like on campus jobs, or they're treated according to tax codes like on-campus jobs. Fellowships are different. You sort of work in a lab as a researcher or as a teacher or a professor as well. That's mostly for PhD candidates. And these fellowships are basically designed by the university so that they also somewhat save a bit of cost on hiring other developers. And so you can avail these fellowships by applying to individual lab links. So on every university website, you will see the different labs that they have and what work is happening in their labs. And if any of your prior experiences or interests align with those labs, you can apply for those fellowships.
Yeah.
So currently in the US, there's a huge funding crunch, but generally, the US has a record of good funding. So whenever there's good funding, there's a lot of fellowships available. You have to work for it, but I mean, it's actually better because you end up getting more connections with your professors and peers. So in that case, also look out for fellowships.
Yeah, I mean, again, like one more point to add here, and then we'll move to the next question. So broadly, when you're coming to the US, there are like two kinds of universities. One is like the private universities. Imagine something like Manipal or BITS or SRM, like colleges in India. And then there are public universities, meaning like government kind of schools or government funded schools, something like PICT, Mumbai University, all of these colleges which are like government funded. So broad two categories of schools. NYU comes as a private school in New York, in the US, but like there are also a bunch of public schools. So I don't know if it's the case with all the public schools, but some public schools do have this option. Like if you're working as an on-campus job, your entire tuition fee for that particular semester is waived off. So I know a couple of friends who study at UCSD, which is the University of California, San Diego. So they studied over there. They had like something like a fellowship only. And when they were studying over there and working as a fellow, their tuition fee was waived off. So this is not really a scholarship that comes to you before you get your admit or like after you get your admit. But once you start doing magic over here, that's when the fee is kind of like waived off. So that's also one thing to note. But I mean, this is like too much of like detail for like first year students, but it's good to like be aware of the things or the options that you have.
Yeah, I think the important thing for first year students is that you have to build your resume or build your experience such that you become capable of getting these scholarships and fellowships. So focus on that.
Yeah. I think a very important question that is coming up in the chat is like, what's the difference between MS and MTech? I think I can start off and then you can take over because this is a very, very, very crucial question to answer. Like I'll tell you, like I'll compare these two things as holistically as I can, and I'll let you know like what is the reality on this. First of all, it really depends on the financial appetite that you have. Masters, I'm not saying it's always costly, but in most of the cases, it is costlier than MTech. MTech is in India, MS is outside, so you have to spend money, all of that. So it's usually higher cost side than MTech. So that is one thing. The second thing is, I believe the cross blending of courses which MS offers, which MTech does not. Like for me, I wasn't looking for MTechs per se, but I was looking for MBA and MS. So like MBA is hardcore into like the complete management stuff, but I don't think there's a degree in India which gives you a blend of tech and management. So I sort of moved my way towards MS because it was giving me that cross blending experience. But broadly speaking, the requirement to decide whether to do an MS or MTech really depends on your financial appetite and your wish to like have that exposure and your willingness to like, it's completely subjective is what I'm trying to say, because the key differentiator is going to be the financial appetite. That's it. And there is also one other question in the chat, like, should you pursue an MS or should you pursue an MTech? Again, like I'll again paint a very sort of holistic picture to this. So like, if you really want to get that academic exposure, if you're really inclined towards research, after BTech, I want to do an MS or an MTech and I really want to get into research, or you think that you want to get into a particular depth in one specific field. Like, for example, you studied CS in your undergrad. Now you want to get that depth knowledge into, let's say, data science, machine learning. You want to get that specific knowledge and spend 2 years working in that, even if you aren't like inclined towards research. I think MS and MTech is a good option. Again, same with MBA. Like you had that exposure to technology and all of that. Now you're entering the corporate. So like you work for 2-3 years. Now you want to climb the corporate ladder. So that's when you put an education, like a degree in between. One of the best advice that I've gotten regarding pursuing higher education, which is literally coming from someone who studied at MIT here in the US, is that education is always a continuous process wherein you identify the gaps in your skill set and bridge it. Education can be formal, like you identify the gap in your skill set, let's say management, you go ahead and get a management degree, or you basically are self-taught. So like this is the core idea of getting an education. That's it from me.
Yeah, I think my key takeaway would be the interaction with research while you are studying, right? So technically, I have friends right now who are doing MTechs, and no doubt, it's much more harder than the BTech degree or BE degree. You do end up learning a lot, but there is a certain focus over aspects of research when you're doing an MS, right? Generally in the US, because most of tech-related research and innovation is done in the US. And so the curriculum for masters over here is much more dependent on that research. It is much more up to date. It is much more relevant to the state of the art, right? Let's say if you're trying to do something in ML or AI in India right now, there isn't really a program that is relevant enough or deep enough to support your needs unless you go for a PhD, right? Secondly, there is something that you want in return from your masters, right? You don't want to do a master's and then just get an increment of 5 or 10 lakh INR in your current salary. Yet you are looking for exponential growth. I think that is one thing that MS offers with an equivalent amount of risk. Let me also put that in. There's an equivalent amount of risk there, which is why Sohan stressed on the financial appetite part of it. Yes, but the risk to reward ratio for an MS is extremely high as compared to an MTech, right? For an MTech, you are typically going to a more industry-focused jobs. You are aligning yourself with the needs of the industry, whereas for an MS, you are sort of exploring your own research, let's say, skills. You are trying to focus on something that is deep enough but relevant enough so that you also have industrial need. You are satisfying what the employer wants, and you are also it's sort of like a feeling of a scientist or a researcher where you're also looking into the state of the art. You're looking into what the world is evolving towards. Because let me tell you, whatever happens in the US, maybe 3 to 4 years down, it reaches India.
Yeah. I think one of the key factors that I also want to add here is like I'm just telling the way a lot of people think, which is not necessarily what everyone thinks, and it is also not needed for everyone to think in that direction. But usually, if you see the trend of people coming to the US in 1990s, 2000s, and that phase, people used to come here to really study and get that exposure. Like that was the only thing that people usually had. But the trend has currently shifted to people coming here because they see MS as the easiest path to come to the US and get that job. So there are two key elements to it. First, kind of people think that I'll get an MS, I'll get a job in the US, and I'll quote unquote settle in the US. So that's like one motive that people have. The second motive that people usually have is like, I'll come get an MS, get a job, work for a few years, I'll earn in dollars, send that money back to India, and when my visa expires, or at some age in my life and I really want to settle down and all of that, I'll go back to the US. So this is usually the thought process that people have right now, like most of the people have right now while coming here. I'm not saying that anything about this is good or bad, but I think on a personal note, what I think is you should have like a broader sort of thinking to this. Like, I'm not coming to the US just to like settle, because right now it's very difficult over here considering the influx of Indian candidates coming and the number of visas that they have, the current job market situation and all of that. And neither it is to like come here and then earn and go back. I think there's like a broader motivation about studying something that you should have before like coming here, or like when you come here, like I'm here to get an exposure. I'm here to learn about the way things work in the US. Like even he mentioned about the US's technological innovations and things that is happening and all of that. So if you come here with that kind of an open mind to learn, I think you will get a lot from this degree as compared to the former mindset. And at the same time, I'm not even disregarding the fact that it's not a good exposure in India for MTech or MBA. If you land in good MTech or MBA colleges like the top IITs or top IIMs, again, like you have to work really, really hard. But I think that exposure is also more or less equally good, is what I'm saying. Now, tomorrow, if you're studying in an IIM, you're, let's say, studying in IIT Bombay, I think it's an equally good exposure. What really matters is what rank of university that you're going to. And I think the key idea, especially for PICT grads, is that the next time you're getting an education, it's very, very, very crucial to do it from the topmost universities. Even if you're coming in the US, like you will get the best of best exposure, you will get the best of best education, you'll get the access to the best resources if you're studying at the best place. So be it in India, be it in the US, but what I'm trying to say is like figure out that why of doing things, because especially if you're in your first year, like not in the first year, but second and third year, it's very easy to succumb to the pressure. Let's say your circle is, let's say, studying for jobs. Everyone will study for jobs irrespective of whether you want to do it or no. If your circle is pursuing your, everyone's into higher education, MS and stuff, you will succumb to it. And to be very honest, it's not a small decision unless you come from let's say a very rich background, because like MS, like he said, is again like high risk, high reward kind of a situation. So you really might want to think through about the investment that you are making. Why are you making it? And ideally speaking, settling in the US or earning money in the US can be a smaller goal under a bigger goal that you are trying to sort of achieve. That is what I'll say. Otherwise, you'll come here again with a closed mind and maybe work with a closed mind. Like that's just me again, but this is what I've seen around me, and I think that is what I want to pass on as well.
I think we missed some questions before. So should we need to study something else to pursue MS or MTech? Something from first year? Yeah, I mean, nothing different as such, but I think everything that you do, you sort of do it with a bit more purpose. You don't just develop projects for the sake of developing projects, and you don't just try and intern somewhere just for the sake of getting an internship on your resume, right? I think indulging yourself in some research is one good thing that a lot of people miss out on. Having good internships and having good projects should set you on the right track. Again, nothing tops keeping your GPA as high as possible. There's absolutely no harm done with your GPA being high. So prioritize that. Alongside that, you have avenues for research. This is a very tech-heavy input that I'm giving. I wish Sohan to touch upon it later on.
Yeah.
So research, internships, maybe some independent projects, and hackathons. Interestingly, I have seen people with hackathon wins generally are able to build more trust with employers and even with researchers and educators. So I believe personally hackathons and open source contributions especially are a huge addition to your skill set. Soham, do you want to add to this?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I really would want to encourage the first and second year people. Right now, you have a lot of time. You literally have a lot of time at your disposal. So I would encourage people to explore as much as they can right now. Don't pigeonhole yourself to doing a master's. Don't pigeonhole yourself to doing an MTech or an MBA or getting a job. Ideally, expose yourself to a lot of things, literally a lot of things. So like I'll tell you what they could be. First, figure out, let's say, a complete area that, let's say, you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in robotics, maybe you're interested in coding, maybe you're interested in management, maybe you know what you're sort of really interested in. Try to get as much as exposure as you can, first of all, in the college itself. So like there are college clubs, there are a lot of activities happening in the college. Try to take lead, try to take initiate as much as you can in all of this, be it technical, be it non-technical, semi-technical, whatever that is, and participate in these activities. That's one thing. The second area, again, that you can explore is research, like whatever we have in college, what are the resources that you can use, how can you use them, and all of that. So explore these areas like resources in college, what they have to offer. That's one thing. The other thing is there are a lot of programs like from different colleges, like IIT Bombay has some fellowships, some IIMs might have them, some other IITs might have them. Explore them as much as you can. Again, keep track of these websites, keep a track of whatever they're posting. What is it? What is the course? What is the research opportunity? What is this? What is that? Explore as much as you can from different sources as well. That's the second thing. And I think third thing is to really keep your side projects very active. This is something that I'm also going to talk about on my YouTube channel. Doesn't matter if you're a technical person, doesn't matter if you're a non-technical person, semi-technical person, you should have one side project going on at all the time throughout your 4 years of college. So for me, my side project has always been, working on my own content portfolio. So I used to read a lot. I used to distill it in my newsletter, something like that. Then I got a freelancing role with a guy based in Singapore. So I was working on that. There was some sort of side project that was happening in my life when I was at PICT, and that does really help, because even if you're doing an MS, even if you're doing a job, whatever that is you're doing, having something extra than most of the other people to show does really go wrong way. So these exposure things that I talked about, those could be them, or like your own side projects could be them. Side projects are a very good way to network with seniors as well. So like tomorrow, let's say if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, hey, you know what, I'm building this, will you help me? Or, give me a feedback. Even you reach out to Ayush, we are more than happy to, look into it. We can see what is that you're working on, and that does really help. So exposure in college, exposure outside of college, side projects, these are the three things that I mentioned. Fourth thing, obviously, is GPA. And fifth thing, again, is try to formalize that experience. Meaning, if you are, let's say, working in, let's say growth marketing, for example, or let's say you're working in machine learning, try to formalize that experience by getting an internship. It should be there on your paper, meaning your resume, that you have worked in this domain, you know something about that domain. And trust me, when you come as an international student in the US, you don't value the freedom when you were in your undergrad in your home country, when you had the freedom to pick any internship, earn as much as money you can, start any internship at any point and all of that. But when you come to the US, you are sort of governed with the visa rules, like this is when you can intern, this is how much you can make, and all of that. So you have all the freedom while you're in your home country. Leverage it as much as possible, formalize those experiences, leverage it as much as possible, and that will really help. This is especially for first and second year people. And talking about when did I figure out my master's, I think that was literally in fourth year, first semester. Okay, this is what I want to do my master's in. This is there's no need per se to from the first year you need to pigeonhole yourself to doing masters and everything. It's good to have an idea that okay, this is one area I'm open to exploring. Okay, MBA is something that I'm open to explore. I don't know what that is, but dekhte hai wahan pe kya hai. Similarly, MTech also I'll see what's there. Similarly, MS also I'll see what's there. So be open to exploring everything. And if you feel that, this track is definitely out of my league, for example, I knew that I don't want to do a hardcore engineering. So MTech was definitely out for me, because I knew that I want to move into the business side of things and all of that. So, you keep on doing side projects and keep on eliminating the things that are around you. Similarly for research also for me, I knew that if I don't want to get into technical stuff as much as, my management side of things, I'm eliminating research. And that clarity comes as you progress ahead in your second year, third year, as you keep on moving ahead. But be very, 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 very active during your undergrad. Don't pigeonhole yourself to just one thing. Explore as much as you can. Just go out and explore. That's it.
Yeah, I think he put it perfectly right. I think the core thing you should take from that is always be active. If there's any month or an extended period of time where you feel like you're not doing anything, just pick something of your interest. Maybe look at it from not just from the perspective of doing something, but actually trying to solve a problem. And this problem does not have to be tech. It can be anything. You have it. And in fact, even while searching for the problem, you end up learning a lot about what's happening in the world, where there's value yet to be created, where you can sort of give your own inputs, make a small difference. And I think that is what actually matters.
Definitely.
Okay, I hope that answered your questions, by the way. Okay, the next is, when did you start?
Hello,
Sorry,
am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So I saw on Sohan Bhaiya's profile that along with NYU, he also got selected for John Hopkins as well. So my question is that, like, if you wanted to go for like management field, then if I'm not wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong. John Hopkins is known for the research field, right? So what was your what was your idea to apply for John Hopkins as well, and how did you get in? Like, your profile was management oriented. So please tell more about it.
So I'll tell you, like, if you apply to MEM programs, right? Engineering management, that is Masters in Engineering Management, MEM. So when you apply to these programs in the US, there is something called as MEM Consortium. MEM Consortium. So MEM Consortium is basically a group of schools who together initiated this MEM program in the US, and they formed a group which is called as MEM Consortium. So I applied to all the schools in that MEM Consortium because they laid the foundation for the MEM course here in the US. So Johns Hopkins was a part of it. That's why I applied to it. The research is good, definitely, but I think Johns Hopkins also has a hand above other MEM programs because it gives an option to do both research and management. So like it's a good program overall. If anyone's interested in applying to MEM programs, I'll just feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'll just share you all the universities that you can apply to and all of that. Similar programs like technology management and all of that. I'll be more than happy to help. Does it answer your question?
It's a really good school for MEM. It's, I think, ranked 4 or 6 in the US.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
Okay, thank you. And one more question is there in the chat. Someone is asking for a loan without collateral. So please tell something about that.
I don't think we're cut out to give financial advice. You can get a loan without collateral. I don't really know the success ratio. I don't know the interest rates. Probably, consult your parents, talk to your banker or an investment manager for that. You do get loans without collaterals. You do get loans with collaterals. You get scholarships with interest, without interest. There's a lot of financial options, right? So consider all of them. Be in line with your parents. Have them in the loop. Don't do this on your own because it's not your own risk. Sohan, please go ahead. Yeah,
I think banks do offer loans without collateral, but the thing is, like, there's a catch, like how much amount they actually offer. So again, like, go through multiple banks and see what is actually the amount. So I think Credila, HDFC Credila is the most popular way to, like, people usually do that with like non-collateral loans. Credila offers, I think, 50 lakhs or something without collateral, and then the amount can increase if you attach collateral or something. That's just how it is generally. So yes, to answer your question, yes, education loans are given on without collaterals, but there's like those terms and conditions that banks like specifically impose. It's a good idea to really look into the financing part of it when you're done with your MS applications, or like before also, if you think that it's really important for you to figure out even before applying. So I think by the end of your third year, when you sort of decide that okay, MS kar sakta hu ya fir karna chahiye, So I think that's the point where you can just like take a visit in these banks and understand like how does the financing work, and they'll be more than happy to help you out, I guess. Yeah. How to prepare for GRE or GATE or CAT exams along with BTech? Okay. I can answer for GRE and CAT for sure, because my roommate gave the CAT exam and I gave the GRE exam, and while this was like while in our fourth year. So first of all, talking about GRE, so like GRE is a relatively easy exam as compared to most of the exams that people usually end up giving in their final year. Could be GATE, could be CAT, all of these exams. And GRE also takes less time, and you can schedule GRE whenever you want to. So like unlike the Indian exams when you just have one attempt for every 1 year, GRE, I think you can schedule like pretty much any time throughout the year and you can give it any time. So it really depends on when do you want to give it, and when do you want to prepare basically. So usually it takes about 3 months to prepare for GRE. Ideally, I suggest like if you like definitely want to go into masters, so like in third year, second semester, or fourth year, first semester is the best time to give GRE. Third year, second semester usually, because I think it's relatively chill as compared to other semesters that you have. And again, like fourth year, first sem, you don't really. This is not an advice, but I'm just saying like you don't have to attend college as such in your fourth year, first sem. Like it's not very strict. I don't know what's the scene right now, but yeah. So yeah, I mean that is about GRE. For CAT, again, you have to start preparing at least 1 year prior to when the exam is. So I know my roommate who had his exam in November of 2023, and he had started preparing from November 2022. But like his hardcore preparation like sort of began in like Jan 2023. So like he gave around 10 months for CAT preparation. And side by side, he was managing his academics as well. I think it's the same with GATE, if I'm not wrong. But these are the two things that I'm definitely aware of. Again, if you have any specific questions, reach out to us like individually. We can help you with that. But like this is sort of the generic, the advice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to time management, because you're doing it alongside BTech. If you are like dead set in your goals that you want to pursue the GATE, CAT, or GRE, you sort of have to schedule time for yourself every day, and in that time you have to like be dedicated and read your books. I don't think material is a problem anymore. You find ample number of resources on the internet through your seniors. I think there's like a sub market in PICT itself selling these books, because I got it from a senior who got it from their senior. So you can get the material. That's my point. And all you have to do is manage your time really well. Because this is a much bigger decision, you sort of have to commit to it, do it every day, take out time for it, make it one of your priorities. And yeah, the rest, I think there's a lot of videos, and you can reach out to us independently as well if you want more advice on that.
Yeah, I think for CAT, again, like especially with these exams like CAT and GATE, what my roommate used to do is like he used to do classes and all of that and study a bit on the weekdays, and his weekend used to be entirely packed for those 10 months where he used to go to classes, and he used to spend the entire weekend like just studying, and then again like resuming. So if you're doing it along with your BTech, be very prepared to like work super hard, because again like there's this point, right? If you're putting in so much of time, you really want to do well and like make sure that you do well. And like, yeah, just go on in and study as much as you can. So like, this is how your day is usually going to look like. Even like when you have those smaller time slots in the day, like you have your college break for, let's say 1 hour or something. So like you eat your food in like 15 minutes and then you spend the rest of the time studying. Or like right after the college, you don't spend time hanging out with your friends and, other people in the college itself. You just like go back home and study, or you sit in the library and study. So you really have to be on top of your toes and study as much as you can in this phase, I guess.
I had a question. So, like, is there a set restriction on international students? Like, they can only pursue a TA or a RA position, that is, research assistant or a teacher assistant position in the first sem only. So, are there any restrictions like that?
Som, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I think I can go ahead. So, with most of the schools, the thing is like when you come here as an F1 student, which is like the visa that international students get, Indian international students get. So the thing is like for the first academic year of your program, which starts from August that is like your fall when you come here, and like which goes on till April last week or May first week. You are just supposed to get that money from the university itself. So any job that is associated to the university, that's what you are supposed to get. And when you complete your one academic year, that's when you are eligible to internships outside of you are basically eligible to earn money outside of college. So that means your internships, that means your probably freelancing role and all of that, but it needs to be approved by the university and in a way that the thing that you're pursuing aligns with your degree, like your major. So let's say I join in as a robotics major. I can't really get into a marketing job, or like I'll have to prove it otherwise. Like, this links to that.
Yeah, and I think regarding your question, there is no such restriction that you can't work on campus. So what you said, assistantships are on-campus jobs, right? You are basically an employee of the university. So that does come under the initial part where you can work on university for the first year. Another caveat for that is you can only work for a maximum of 20 hours.
I forgot to mention.
Yeah. So you can only work for 20 hours, and this is a week, not the entire year. You can work for 20 hours a week. And so that will be the limit of the amount of work you can do. And this applies for all on-campus jobs. So if you're working in a cafe, a barista, a lab, as an assistant, or even as an administrator, there are different kinds of on-campus jobs as well. So you can do any of those. For that, the university does give you an approval, and you get that easily because it's the university handling it anyways. So, but then once your first year is done, you can pursue other financial opportunities like freelancing, like internships. But that requires additional clearance from the company that is employing you and the university as well.
Yeah. I think there's
I hope
also
that answers
another
your question.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, there's another question in chat. How do professional opportunities differ for individuals who pursue an MS in the US versus who complete an MBA in India, particularly in terms of career growth, job market prospects, and global exposure? Very interesting question. I can take the lead. I can talk about this. A lot of people think that US is the land of opportunities, and you don't get as many opportunities in India, and when you come to the US, everything's gonna come to you, which is like the biggest myth. The thing is, you have to work really, 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 really hard to attract opportunities here, which is also the same case in India. But I think the image that people usually have, कि यार India में बहुत hard work करना पड़ता है, ये करना पड़ता है. मैं US, like people see US or any other country as an escape mechanism, which is like I have a lot of hardship in my home country and then I'll go to the US and मजे ही मजे होंगे, party होंगे, घूमेंगे. Of course, it's a part of life. Some people do it, and it's a good thing. If you're coming on, you're sitting on a pile of money and you're coming here, of course, you can literally have the best time of your life. You can enjoy and all of that. But you don't be delusioned or tricked into thinking that US aate hi I'll line up opportunities and all of that. The US will give you as much as you are willing to take. It's a very important lesson to remember. US will give you as much as you're willing to take. That's it. That's the core idea of the point that I wanted to make. That's one thing. The other thing is, how is the exposure in the US? Of course, from a technical perspective, it's amazing because all the innovation is happening in the US. It's happening in the Silicon Valley, and then the ripple effect sort of happens across the world. But again, how much are you active enough to network with these people who are working in the valley? How much are you active enough to build that network with founders, VCs, to really understand what is going on in the industry? How much are you willing to learn from the course, learn from the up-to-date courses that are out there in the US, in the university that you are a part of? How much are you willing to go out, talk to the professors, learn from them? So again, the bottom line is, it really depends on how much do you want to take. Please don't look at US as an escape mechanism from India. There's a lot of hardship back home and then I'll come to the US and enjoy. Clearly not the case. At the same time, what I'm also seeing is you can get a job you can get equally good exposure or good jobs in India as much as you get in the US. The thing is, let's say you're working in the best of best companies in the US, in India, like Google, Amazon, all of these places. You're working in best of best cities, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Gurgaon, all of these places where you literally have the talent density is really high. I think you are getting more or less the equal exposure to like you have in the US. The point with US is that if you are, especially like for me, I can definitely say if you're studying in New York or like studying in the Valley or somewhere close, the talent aggregation and the talent density is extremely high. So maybe that does really help and that does really stand out. Like for example, I'll just give a very small example. Like in our marketing class in the previous week, we literally had the attorney of President Trump coming to our class. In the previous week, we had a billionaire in like international business coming to our class. Now this exposure does really matter, but like that's fine. He came to the class. Now what? Are you taking the lead to like work with him? Are you taking the lead to like, sort of understand his work, his profile? Are you going out talking to him again and again? So like these things do really matter. US will give you only as much as you are willing to take. It's not that you come here as an escape mechanism and things are sorted. For sure, like that's one thing. And again, talking about like career growth, I believe it's equally good in India these days. If I'm not wrong, like you can still be in India, work in the best of best companies. In fact, if you move to Bangalore, I think it's a good startup culture to be a part of. There are a lot of VCs in Bangalore, there are a lot of founders in Bangalore. So I think India is like sort of catching up with like US. But if you really want to be in the core of innovation, I think US is the place to be, just because of talent aggregation. I think that really helps. Global exposure, again, like it really depends on how much are you willing to go out and talk to people and get that exposure. Nothing is going to be handed to you. Nothing. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think Sohan pretty much covered everything. One aspect I'd like to touch upon a bit extra is that anything you do in the US, you can do in India. There is nothing stopping you from doing it in India. It's just that everything in the US is happening at a global scale, and the US has had a history for an ecosystem that supports all of these things, right?
Yeah.
India is catching up, definitely. In fact, I'd say right now the Indian job market is for tech doing pretty nice. It's not. It's almost on par with the US. Some people argue that salaries in the US are much better. That is just an effect of currency exchange and value creation. I do believe salaries in India are really good, and you can easily live a very comfortable life, a good career in India as well. The only thing that makes a difference for me is global exposure. Unless you are in the top IITs and IIMs in India, the degree you get is not really recognizable across the world. Whereas a degree in the US from the top 20, 30 universities, but even from a generally recognizable top 50, top 70 university is also recognizable across the globe.
Yeah.
And that really makes a difference. It builds a factor of trust for you in the employers, in the job market. And because you're so close to all the innovation and the new things happening around the world, your resume sort of stands out as compared to others, because you otherwise would not have worked on these state-of-the-art technologies and state-of-the-art concepts back home in India, unless you're like the top of the top.
Yeah. So again, like one last thing to add, I don't want us to like sort of sound ironic, meaning that we are in the US and, typical Indian appreciating India while sitting outside of India. I don't want to be that. But I think in the last 6 months, I've tweeted a lot about my experience in the US and all of that. I think for me, it's been really, really amazing. It's been life changing. So like I'm pretty sure like when I look back at some point in my life, I think moving to not the US in general, but like moving specifically to New York is something that I'll consider as the best decision of my life that I've ever made, because the amount of initiates that I've taken over here, my days are very happening. Like I'm just like into a lot of things. I'm involved with Envi's entrepreneurship cell. I'm involved with my professors, involved with Envi's business school. I keep on meeting a lot of VCs, founders, creators, big all of these billionaires, millionaires in the city and all of that. But it's very, again, important to note that my experience is not going to be like everyone's experience, because if you are proactive, you can replicate some sort of like, this is not the experience basically that each of my NYU batchmate is living, is what I'm trying to say. I knew what I wanted, like as soon as I came here, or like specifically knew that I didn't want this, and I'm completely into the things that I know my strengths are and what I want. And I have a lot of capacity to take in from the country. That's why it's giving me. US is extremely rewarding, capitalistic market. Love it. Absolutely love it. Upward mobility is insane. The American dream is still alive. Not gonna lie, I absolutely love that. And it's a good place to be for like when you are sort of in the early stages of your career. And it has been very rewarding for me. Like this kind of upward mobility of like sitting with millionaires and billionaires, I don't think I did not see a lot of things when I was in India, but like after coming here, and this is especially because of New York highlighting that, and especially because I keep on leveraging the unfair advantages like I sort of have. So that really helps. But you build your own experience in the US, nothing is going to be handed to you. And yeah, that's like pretty much it. Next question, what difference it creates to learn self with experience than to develop through higher studies? I don't really, as in you mean that what is the difference between self-learning versus higher education?
Self-learning and higher studies. I think that's what they're trying to ask.
Is it right? Okay, yeah. You can take this lead. You can go and talk. I can cover.
So I believe the difference for me has been people, right? When I come here to pursue my MS, I meet people who are aligned with my goals. I meet people who sort of want to do the same things that I want to do. Of course, there is a set curriculum in place. You have things much more structured. But I think you can argue the same thing for online courses. But what it really lacks is the interaction, right? When you're learning by yourself, you don't really get to interact with different perspectives. You don't get to interact with different views, different approaches to the same problem. Or different problems in the first place. You don't know that this is a problem that exists or someone's here trying to solve this issue, right? Another thing that I believe is that the two are also not that different. Honestly, higher studies is a lot of self-learning as well. And if you're not comfortable with learning by yourself, I don't think higher studies is for you, because actually, a lot of masters, a huge part of masters is exploring things that have never been explored before. So you're sort of on your own, but having a community who's also on their own is much more helpful, much more relieving, and in fact, it helps boost the self-learning experience itself. That isn't to say that something you can achieve through your masters isn't achievable through self-learning. But being with a group of people who are all learning together, who are all aligned with your goals, who have the same background, same experiences, I think that is really what differentiates higher studies from self-learning on its own. Soham, if you have anything to add to this.
What was the question? Difference that it creates with self-learning experience and higher studies. Again, I'll give a broader answer to this, and what are the things that I've learned. I think one of the very important things in life in general is to be in rooms where the talent aggregation is really high, and good systems are all about good talent aggregation. So if you go to, why do people want to? I was talking to someone from Google, and I was having a dinner with someone, like two people from Google and Meta that day. And I asked them, apart from the work that you do and all of that, what really excites you to, be in the Meta office, traveling all the way from Jersey to New York and then, doing all of that. So they told me that it's a delight to work with like-minded people, to work with similar people. I think good systems are all about talent aggregation. People want to get into good universities. People want to get into good companies. Not just because they're earning money, which is like a smaller earning money and getting to do the work and studying and all of that. But I think the drive really subconsciously is to be amongst the right people who really push you to do things. So that's why good systems are important. Even if that's why I said, if you're studying for MTech, be in the best MTech college. If you're studying for management exams, be in the best management school. If you're studying for MS, try to be in the best US schools. If you're trying to get the job, especially the first year people who want to get a job, try to be in the best scenarios where you can work with extremely, high talent people. So I think this in general really helps. That's one thing that I want to say. The second thing that I really want to say, what I've realized is, this is slightly difficult to understand, but I'll break it down. Let's say you are in a not so good system and you are putting in a magnitude of effort which is equal to X, and you are getting an output of X by 2 in a not so good system. But when you're surrounded by good people, when you're administered by good people, when you're in a good system, and you put the amount of X amount of effort, you'll end up getting more just because the system is designed to give you more, or you are designed with your people around you to take in more. So the point is being in good systems, like being in a good college, being in a good university, being in a good job, even if you put same amount of effort by not being in a good situation or a good system, you are more likely to get out of that system in the first scenario than the later scenario. I mean, this like sort of sounded complex, but this is what I've really seen very, very close by. So try to be in good systems. That being said, internet is also a very, very good leveler. Like even if you're not financially capable, even if you're not according to your timeline, according to your priorities, you don't think that it's the right time to get good education, or maybe you messed up like at some point in your life you did not get into a good system, internet is a very, very good leveler. That's why I said, if you're working on side projects, if you keep on putting them out there, if you're working on something interesting, you will naturally attract people of your bandwidth. If you keep on posting and I'm again like first year people especially, please come on Twitter. Please come on Twitter. It's the best place to be at right now. There are a lot of interesting people over there writing a bunch of things. There are a lot of interesting people building a bunch of things. Get inspired by those people, DM them, learn from them, build interesting projects. Really amazing. Be it technical, be it non-technical. Super, super interesting to be in those places. Come on Twitter, come on LinkedIn. Does really help. That's one thing. So the point is, like, again, internet is a very good leveler. Even if you're not physically with some people, you can still, see their work online and you can get inspired and do things. So like that is the broader like point that I wanted to address. Higher education and self-learning, both are like equally, I mean, higher education, of course, like in person and all of that does really help. But again, the core idea is to be in the best systems and with the best people, because anything good is all about good people. That's it. I think someone raised that.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Yeah, in recent session by Dheeraj Bhai also, they told about Twitter and all. So most of us are active on LinkedIn right now, right? For professional, like for the professional stuff, we are on LinkedIn. So my question is that even if we want to move to Twitter, like I tried, but how to connect with the right people? Like if I'm interested in tech, then how would I come to know that these people are on like tweeting actively, or there is a feature on LinkedIn which supports the filtering according to their fields, but there is nothing such on Twitter. So how can we do that?
Like, should I address this, Ayush, or like you wanna go?
Please go ahead. I am not an expert on Twitter from any perspective.
So, I mean, yeah, the interesting thing on Twitter is to follow the right founders, first of all. Your feed is automatically curated to, first of all, follow the right people. Like if you're interested in like business side of things, follow CEOs, follow investors, all of that. If you're really interested into the technical side of things, follow people like who are CTOs working on tech and all of that. And then your feed will define your areas of interest. Like for me, it's startups, VC, growth, marketing, strategy, all of the business side of things, finance, VC, etc., etc. So define your areas of interest and just come on Twitter. Eventually, your feed will be curated on the basis of like what do you exactly like, what do you exactly spend your time most reading on, and it takes some time to like really curate your feed, because there is a lot of bullshit also that comes on feed. Until the algorithm is sort of tuned to like what you really want. So I think it's about following the right people. And then, I mean, there are a lot of people who are like pretty active on LinkedIn. Like all the YC founders are active on LinkedIn. All the YC people, basically, all the investors are active on LinkedIn. And if you just go through their comments, if an investor is posting something, you will see a lot of founders, sort of replying back to the comments, replying back to him, making a tweet, quote tweet, whatever that is. There are a lot of authors also again active on Twitter. So I think it's really important to, sort of build your presence from there and define your interests. And slowly, I think you will come across interesting people on Twitter. I think for DMing and stuff, you need to buy the premium account, which I have not yet. But I think for me, Twitter has been working. I've been on Twitter for like 3 years now. And the first thing that I do every morning is to like literally just open Twitter and like see what's happening. And I mean, yeah, it's amazing.
I just have one very small unrelated input on this. always look into how you are using the social media platforms, right? Platforms like Twitter, platforms like LinkedIn, they aren't like platforms like Instagram or Facebook, right? They have a really specific purpose and their algorithms are tuned for that purpose. Your algorithm on LinkedIn and Twitter will say a lot more about your professional life and your personal views than your Instagram account feed or your Facebook account feed, right?
Yep.
So the way you use these platforms will really define that platform's experience for you. You are supposed to be more professional on LinkedIn and Twitter. You're supposed to be more outgoing. You're supposed to talk about your work. You're supposed to talk about what value you're adding, your views on certain aspects in your domain or your field. Right. And I think the moment you start to do those things, the moment you start to follow people that also do those things, the algorithm will sort of recognize what you are trying to do, where you're headed, what your goals are, and sort of align you in the right direction.
Yeah. I think the core idea to all of this is just be an interesting person working on good projects and start putting those projects out. And you will eventually attract the crowd that you want or like you want to be with. Please work on side projects. That's it. That's the whole idea of this. I think
if you scroll Twitter the way you scroll Instagram, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah, bro. Like the first thing is like I literally my first thing that I do every day is to like be on Twitter and like write every day on Twitter. I write every day. It's not gone like super viral and stuff apart from like 2 to 3 tweets, but yeah, I mean I spend a lot of time over there. Can we take the next? I noticed some individuals from our college and other colleges as well admitted to CMU and other Ivy League schools doing internships at big tech companies, specifically referring to PICT alumni. Do they have an unfair advantage and how do these things work for them? They meaning who? Like people studying at Ivy Leagues and CMU, or they meaning just like students in general?
I want to say that I saw some alumni studying at CMU and other Ivy Leagues. They did their internship from. I saw most of them doing their internships at Mastercard. So I just wanted to ask: is there any advantage for them? Like, what's that?
Them as in who? Students having.
I think let me reframe the question and Athar maybe tell me if so. I think he's trying to ask: does having internships or experience at big tech, as compared to having them at startups or like small scale businesses, help the master's profile for admissions? Is that your question?
Yes. That is.
Okay. To that, my answer will be no. I mean, it can help, but I'll tell you the reason why I think it helps, right? I think the work happening at big tech is just interesting in general as compared to some of the other small scale businesses or startups. And that is why when it comes on the resume, it seems to be more interesting. And it's sort of like a filter, right? If someone says if they're from an IIT, right, and they haven't done anything interesting, but they're from an IIT, you know what it takes to get into an IIT. Similarly, if I say I am from Amazon or Google, or I have interned at Amazon or Google, you have a preconceived notion of what it requires to be an intern at Amazon or Google, right? So that definitely helps, right? I won't say it's an unfair advantage, right? Because damn, they had to work hard to get into Amazon and Google, right? But it does look good on the resume. There's no doubt about it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that if you're at a startup, if you're working at a startup and you've done some amazing work, or you're able to clearly state the impact that you've had while you were working over there, right? Internships, everyone has internships. Not all internships are as impactful as every other internship, right? It is really important that if you are interning at a place, you do ask for work, right? Many people, they just stop once they get an internship, they start chilling, they start to think that, everything's done, I'm set. That's not the case. In fact, your battle is just beginning, right? You have to be there, you have to start interacting with people, with higher ups. You have to get yourself out there, you have to take up work. If you feel your work is not interesting enough, you have to go up to your manager, ask for some interesting work, or maybe find a few flaws in their system that you yourself want to solve. Add some extra value. Right, because at the end of the day, you have to put it on your resume. You can't just have an internship position and not do anything. I think that's what sets these people to get into Ivy League colleges. And just for perspective, I had a Mastercard internship. I didn't get into any Ivy League. So I don't think it's the internship that defines your admission to these colleges. I think it's the work you do at those internships.
Yeah.
So please add your inputs.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I am someone who doesn't have any brand on my resume. And I used to feel inferior about it, to be very honest. Like a lot of people in the third year and fourth year, or like, while they were graduating and stuff, a lot of people had big brands on their resume. And, I thought like I used to feel inferior to some extent. If you go on my LinkedIn also, honestly, there is no brand apart from NYU on that. There's literally nothing. All the work that I've done is at some place where the place was like really small. My IEEE work really small. I was working with a Singapore-based freelancer. I was like amongst like 2-3 people working with him. But when I've come to the US and I talk about these experiences with people, what they are really interested in knowing is what is the work that I've done. Like, this is something that I've seen. I used to feel inferior that I don't have brands and stuff. Definitely, brands do help you get foot in the door, but you really need to see what is the kind of people that you're attracting to you. Like for me, when I came to the US, I realized that, okay, I don't have a big brand experience under my resume, on my resume, whatever that is. So I think it's good for me to connect with people who also are like working on small scale organizations which are not like scaled that big. So I knew like, what is my experience and what is it matching with, and I better like sort of go there and in that direction and help and network with people in that sense. So like having good brand on your resume does really help you to get foot in the door. But like he said, if there's nothing that you can talk about at the end of the day, if there's nothing that you can quantify at the end of the day, like, okay, this is what I've worked on and this increased the efficiency by 50% or 20%, 10%, reduce the cost by $100, $1,000, whatever that is, nothing of that is going to matter. It's just going to be a brand on a resume which stands for essentially nowhere. Whereas for me right now, when I look at myself and the 4 years of experience that I had, I was like, why was I so inferior? Like, why was I so insecure about not having brands? I probably have more, or like at least equal things to talk about. Like when I sit with someone, like I said, like, the other day I was having lunch with these people from Google and Meta, and like whatever they were talking, I had something to add to it. I had something to talk about. I had something to add. So it's all about how much can you bring to the table in terms of the work that you have done. And at the end, the work speaks for itself, for sure, 100%. Your brands do help you get foot in the door. Like, again, like I said, like, talent aggregation and all of that, people know like you've sort of worked hard and stuff. But even if it's a longer route, if you don't have brands on your resume, I've had a fairly long route and I used to be frustrated sometimes, like, it's a longer route. But at the end, I feel that it's very rewarding. And that's it. Like, let your work speak for itself, I believe.
The brand will help you catch the eyes. It's on you to retain them.
Yeah. Exactly. True that. And even without the brand, you can do a lot of things, for sure. I wish I could tell my younger self, 3-4 year younger self, like, even without brands, you can do a lot of things, I guess. So, yeah.
Okay. I think how important is research work?
By Sanya.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please continue.
Sania, you said. I have a strong profile, also very good university admits like IUB, UMCP, NCSU, expecting time USD. Doubt that I'm not prepared. I'm still not prepared, man. Honestly, it'll be fine. Sohan, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what movie is this from, but this is an important like quote that I always keep reminding myself in. Jump in before you're ready. Like, I don't want you to be like disillusioned or like impractical, but like just jump in before you're ready and like keep like be ready to take on challenges as well. Like, it's not like you just come here and keep on feeling underconfident. You need to like work really, really hard to cope up with that. You're never going to be ready, to be very honest. Even after coming here, I felt that, oh man. See, one thing that you really have to realize again here is that your level playing field is changing. This is literally what I tweeted yesterday. Yesterday night, I had this thought. One important thing when you're coming for your master's, you have to realize that your level playing field was India, where the competition that you essentially had was Indians, and the competition in the college that you essentially had was just PICT people, and then you were the top ones to come out of it. US is a country where your level playing field is not just the US, but the whole globe, because the entire globe is here. And the best of the best people are here, by the way. Not everyone per se, but the talent aggregation, like I said, is really high. So your level playing field is changing. I don't think a lot of people realize that before coming to the US, and like they just keep like they are just like pigeonholing themselves into a small level playing field. They think that, okay, this is the only competition, that is the only competition and all of that. But the thing is, opportunities skyrocket, like insane number of opportunities, but also insane number of people who are as good as or better than you competing, not really competing, but wanting those same kind of, like on the broader scale, wanting those same kind of positions. So it's really important to understand that you have to come here and work hard. Please don't be disillusioned by the, again, like I'm saying, don't be disillusioned by the fact that, I'll come here, New York, it's so fancy, I'll go out and, roam around and party and all of that. Of course, it's a small segment of your life, but broadly speaking, like if I talk about me, apart from the time that I sleep, I am always thinking and doing work, to be very honest. It's always work. There is no other thing in my life right now. There's always work. So you have to be obsessed and just do things. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And just to soothe your anxiety, we all sort of were in that place where we were thinking about, how is it going to go from here? Just be ready to work hard and everything will work out. As much as it is difficult over here, hard work really does pay off in the US at least. And I can assure you of that. Be ready to do hard work, do your research, learn as much as you can before you come here, and it'll be fine. And the thing is, the community here is really helpful. As much as we might see in memes and all, people are really helpful in the US. I don't think I've ever been in a problem where I felt helpless and I haven't had anyone to guide me. You have seniors. I mean, I see you listed NCSU. If you come here, I'll guide you. And so you're not actually alone. You'll have seniors wherever you go. You'll have people to help you out. And universities here also do have an international student organization and cell that guide you on different things like how do you pay tax, where you can get on-campus jobs, etc. So there's a lot of help available. Just, jump right into it, as Sohan said. Jump into it before you take a step out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People are absolutely helpful. Even the professors are, for that matter. Absolutely helpful. They'll go out of the way to help you. Again, stressing on the same point, the US will give you as much as you're willing to take. So don't come here with like that small thinking. Just come here to, expand and explore as much as you can. Talk to everyone, to every professor, talk to every senior. Just do things is what I'm saying. Yeah. I think the next question, do you want to talk something?
The one that says, what did you do during your undergrad that made a difference? Is still helping you a lot right now. Interesting question. Go ahead. I haven't things on this.
What did you do during your undergrad, which is also helping you now? Chasing my curiosity. Single most important answer. In like PICT, when I started my undergrad, everyone was into tech and all of that. And to be very honest, I used to feel very left out. I used to feel very inferior. I used to feel out of place always, while especially when the offline college started and everyone was like, did you lead code? Did you do this? Did you do that? And I was like, no, you know what? I read business books and I listen to business podcasts and I write. And I think I used to always feel that where is this all leading to? Like, I write business. Or my personal experiences, that's one thing. I'm leading a 12-member team. I hired a team at IEEE to do my podcast, working with them. I don't know how is this helping me. On the other side, I'm also freelancing with a VC. I don't know how is this helping me. A very, very, very bunch of like discrete things. In the third year, again, like people were getting internships. I did not have anything. I was like chasing something. I was busy into all of these things and I used to feel satisfaction. But at the end of the day, people were getting brands on their resume. I used to feel insecure. Again, in the fourth year, first semester, when people started getting jobs, I was like, am I doing the right thing? Because I haven't even prepared for the jobs that are coming on campus. And I don't even know what kind of universities am I going to get into. And all of these discrete experiences that I have, I don't know where is all of this leading to. But I guess I just kept working through my undergrad. And, there was a point in my undergrad when all of those things aligned. And the funny thing is, even if I did not prepare for any job for like my undergrad, I was amongst the first 5%. Like I got my placement in August. Like I did not even prepare for it, to be very honest. And a lot of people were shocked actually. Like, like how did you get placed? Because you didn't even prepare. It wasn't a matter of luck. But the point is there were these moments in my undergrad journey where all the discrete things that I was doing aligned so beautifully at one point, not just the job, but there were different points when all of those things aligned. And I was like really grateful to the fact that I was chasing my curiosity. I was just doing things that interest me. And I did not, I used to feel insecure, but I did not succumb to it. And I think that is the thing that I'm doing here as well. Here, in fact, I've like become more fearless is what I'd say. Of course, there is like financial concern. Of course, the job market is like this and, people are fighting for jobs. But I know if I just keep on doing things with pure intention, even though they might sound discreet, things will eventually align for me, and big things would align for me for that matter. So that's why I just keep pushing myself every single day. Motivates me to do things. I mean, this is a line from I just write the book. I recommend every single one on the chat to read this book. I'm writing it down in the chat. This is the book that I read every single day, and this is a man that I look up to.
Yes, amazing.
The Almanac of Ravi Kant. This is the man, and this is the book that has completely changed my life. And he talks about like chasing your curiosity as the foundation for your career, and I've done that, and I've implemented pretty much everything from the book, and it has really taken me a long way, I guess. So like that's the one thing that I still continue to do, and I encourage people to do.
Yeah, I think for me, this might seem a pretty nerdy answer, but I think two things really helped me out. First one was the ability to read textbooks really helped me here. But that's the nerdy part of the answer. I think the second thing that really helped me was being busy. I was really busy in PICT and I had the hang of it, right? I was able to learn to manage my time really well. I was doing internships side by side. I was in 2-3 clubs at the same time. I was doing research. I had personal projects, and I was washing dishes and making food. All of that, the entire package, right? And sort of, I think that's been helping me a lot. Like I see people just struggling to live in the US because they haven't really been out of the house before and they don't know how to manage their time effectively. They don't know how to plan their meals. They don't know when to complete their assignments, whether to leave it till the last point or whether to prioritize it. So I feel like time management has really helped me in the US. I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah. Just being, I think it's the same with Ayush, and I think it's the same with me. I guess just being obsessed about the things that we are into, and just thinking about work. I don't think even in PICT there has been a day when I've not thought about work. I would say
same
a pretty workaholic person. Like I love working like all day, pretty much all day. And that I think has come to me from the JEE days. I used to study a lot. Didn't get into an IIT, but I used to study fucking hard. Yeah.
How has making LinkedIn connections helped? Connections on LinkedIn, but does it help? Right, Sohan, you want to go ahead with this? I think you have a lot to say on this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know honestly like where to start, but everyone says make connections. Like, what does it help? I'll tell this answer to you from my perspective. You might not relate to it, but if you do, it's like really amazing. So I think one of the ways in which LinkedIn helped me initially is to get that exposure, which I wasn't getting from my undergrad college. I think the thing is like when I used to just type in IIT, the places that I wanted to actually go to, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, and I used to look at these people's profiles. And, I used to see some things that I did not know about. Like I learned about people doing masters. I learned about business consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, like something like that also exists. I learned about a lot of roles outside of SD that also exists. Like I knew a lot of people who are into tech consulting, management consulting, who are into even technical roles for that matter, like, tech product manager, product analyst, product marketing. Just by skimming these profiles, I got to know a lot of things which I would not have got to know otherwise, and that essentially is the exposure that is lacking in a tier 2 or tier 3 college, which a lot of people in tier 1 actually have. They have, because their alumni network is worldwide, because they're doing so many things. I guess they know a lot of things, even about startups, VCs. I got to know about all of that while I was skimming through LinkedIn. So I think just going through people's profiles and then seeing what all things are available to you to do out there. Because I think when you are in a tier 2 or tier 3 college, you are very narrow vision to like just look into things that the other people are doing, and most likely everyone's doing the same thing. I think it helped me broaden my exposure. And I think the thing that I also talked about is that actually I got the idea of starting my newsletter by looking at someone's, like a bunch of newsletters on LinkedIn only. So I think that is one thing in broadening my exposure. I think second thing is again like something that comes from my JE only. I did not, like, one of the things that I realized as to like why did I fail in JE was that I did not have a mentorship channel for myself like during JE. I used to study hard. I used to love math and physics. I also wanted to like at some point become a physics researcher or something, but I did not have any mentorship as to like how to do or like go about all of these things. So like when I started working on my newsletter, I started posting it out there on LinkedIn, and that did attract a lot of like crowd who reached out to me, or at least I could reach out to them. You know what, I'm writing this newsletter, I'm writing this, can you give a feedback and stuff? And that's why I'm encouraging you guys to also work on side projects. Let's say you're working on a side project in machine learning. In PICT, even if it's your immediate seniors or people who have graduated, the people who you want to reach out to, like just on LinkedIn, like just type PICT, machine learning, whatever that is, and you will see some profiles. You will see the work that they've done. You can just send your project, like, I'm working on this. Is there any feedback that you have? And, all of that. So LinkedIn helped me in those two broad ways. One is exposure and one is mentorship, I think. But I mean, I'm happy to just like one last point. I'm happy to like do a workshop for first year people to like set up your LinkedIn and how to actually use LinkedIn, if that's something like people are interested in. So I'll just like put a question in chat if you can react to that, if you're interested to actually see like just react to the message that I'm putting in, so that like I just get an understanding of it. And yeah, Ayush.
Actually, we held a session for LinkedIn profile building in last couple of weeks only by Dheeraj Bhaiya. But somehow none of us noticed that it is also important for them to tell them how to build their profile and all.
Yeah, I can definitely conduct one. I post in the chat, so like people can let me know.
I think, Soham, you are really spot on with everything you said. And I want to just highlight one point, right? When you say LinkedIn connection, I hope you don't just mean, I'm talking about the person who asked the question. I hope you don't just mean that you click the connect button, right? That's not really a connection. A connection is you reaching out to them, finding some common link, finding a common purpose, a common goal, or asking for advice, seeking advice, giving advice. I get a lot of connections from PICT students, like one or two of those actually ask me a question, right? So for me, that's not really a LinkedIn connection, right? I'm just accepting you're following me, I'm following you. You might end up on my feed, I'll end up on your feed. But actually commenting on someone's post, seeking advice, providing your own inputs. Let's say I post something about software, something about testing, and you have some questions, you have some inputs to give, you have something to contribute. I think that's what really makes the connection a connection. So it really comes down to, like Soham said, you need to learn how to use the platform. If you're using Twitter and LinkedIn like you're using Instagram, it's just not gonna work out. You have to understand what these platforms are built for and what is actually the way of making a connection with people.
Absolutely. MS institutes give admission on the basis of WorkX. So is it advisable to get a WorkX for a few years and then go for your master's, or is it right after your BTech? I think you can talk about this first and then I can.
So I haven't really, so this is a question that has been bugging me as well, because I've been questioning, hey, should I have gotten work experience? Because I had a job and everything, but I left the PPO I had gotten from Mastercard basically to go for my MS. And I haven't really seen a difference for my peers who have come with jobs, with work experience versus me who has come without work experience here. I don't see any difference in statistics for people who are getting internship callbacks, people who are getting full-time offers. What I will say is that people who have come with work experience or a job generally have a deeper understanding of their master's goal. They know what they've come for, they know what they're lacking in, and they know what they want to do in the future. Whereas I think on the other side, there's also an advantage for us because we are a lot more malleable. We have flexible goals, and we can sort of optimize our way in that scenario. But I have seen there's a certain shift in goal and certain shift in priorities that happens if you come with work experience. But as far as admissions and work-ex go, I don't think there's any link as such. Maybe there are some universities who have been known to prefer work experience. I'd suggest going on Reddit or some other forums to sort of understand what the recruiters of that university look for. But I really don't think if you have some good internships, some good projects, and a good SOP, I don't think your work experience would, offset your admission chances by that much.
Yeah. I think I have 2 to 3 points to add to this. First thing is that, it's all about having clarity. Okay. When you are coming here, clarity about 2 things, or at least one of these 2 things. First thing is what I don't want, or what I don't want to do for sure. And the best case scenario is you know what you want to do. If during your undergrad, you don't have a clarity on these things, I'd ideally suggest you to not go for masters right after your undergrad, because masters is not just MS in general, but any form of higher education, MBA, MTech, MS in general. Why am I saying this, especially in the context of MS, is that when you come to the US and you see so many career opportunities, you will get lost for sure, because everything will then seem lucrative to you. That product management, wow, so interesting. Oh, software development, so interesting. Oh, research, wow, so interesting. Figure out, clarity, figure out. And if you're able to do that during your undergrad, amazing. If you're able to figure out these are the areas that you don't want to go in. Like, for example, for me, I pretty much knew that I don't want to go into proper software development job. I pretty much knew that I don't want to go into research kind of thing. So those 2 areas, and neither like complete management, like consulting and stuff. I want to be at the intersection of tech and management. So I knew the things that I don't want to do for sure. Second point, now what are the things that I really want to do is something that I'm figuring out here as well. So the core agenda was product management and entrepreneurship. And then there are things in subset to it: product analyst, product marketing, product strategy, product consulting, business analyst, business dev, whatever that is. So like these are the subsets to the broad things that I'm interested in. If you aren't able to figure out, I think it's not a good decision to like go out straight into masters or like straight into any form of higher education, because then especially an MBA class, because the thing is MBA class or a manage, like even my class, like I see a lot of people in my batch getting disconnected from what is being taught in the class because they have come straight out of their undergrad without having any sort of understanding of how business works. For me, I've read a lot of business books, first of all, and when I was leading teams also for IEEE, I was leading one for my freelancing work. I was getting to know a lot of things from the VC itself who I was working with, and all of that exposure. Now when I'm learning things in class, like how to think like an entrepreneur, how to do things like an entrepreneur, I can definitely establish a relatability factor. The reason is because I have been somewhat like an entrepreneur when I was leading those teams. I'm not saying like I'm a very fancy entrepreneur like value creation and all of that, but I have some sort of leadership experience. I know what it takes to set the entire team on a vision and get things done, getting things executed. So I can establish that relatability factor. And the relatability factor will come in either if you have that experience during your undergrad, and even if you don't have it, like you can get it during your work ex, maybe 1 year, 2 years of work experience, whatever that is, and then jump in. I think a lot of people succumb into that pressure as well. Like, my friends are in the US, my friends are planning to go to the US, so maybe I should leave everything behind and go to the US. Honestly speaking, the thing is like if you have a 10, 12 lakh job, 15 lakh job in India, you could easily do it for 2 to 3 years. Take that time to figure out the industry. And if you're working in a small product-based company or like even big for that matter, you can try switching roles, like internal switching, if that's allowed in your company, or sort of getting that exposure. And even if you're not allowed to, get as much as exposure as you can in the company that you're a part of. Like even if you're working as a developer, sit with product guys, sit with your managers, sit with business. Get that exposure, get that understanding of how businesses work if that's your area of interest. If you're interested in software development, sit with senior software developers, actually understand like how are the things working over here. Get that exposure in the company when you are there, get that experience, establish that clarity, relatability factor, and then do your higher education. I think that is the best ROI that you can get. And if during your undergrad, you're able to figure it out with like, you have a head start, especially the first year people, let's say, you get an internship in the second year itself, you get an internship in the third year itself, and that internship really pushes you ahead, I think, and you now know that, okay, this is what I don't want to do at least, then go for higher education. Don't come don't get into higher education blindfolded. Like, I just want to do, I don't know, like maybe data science or machine learning or just like pure CS. Get some exposure, get some idea of things. And I think corporates do help you in a very, very, very good way. In fact, even when I was at Sears, I used to sit with product managers. I used to sit with the software development guys. I used to sit with a lot of people only during those 3 months. I had an option to like drop NYU and do a job over there, or like, either of these things. But I think that 3 months of internship exposure even further broadened my experience as to like how is tech applied in the real world business case scenarios. And I think that continues to help me today as well. So it's all about clarity and exposure and your understanding of there's no right or wrong time. Don't succumb to the pressure, please. It's my request, because you're going to spend a lot of money and time also, like 2 years of your life here. Please don't succumb to your friends or like the fancy stories that you see on Instagram. This is New York and this is LA and whatever that is. Please take your time. Honestly.
Okay. Before we move on to the next question, I just want to ask if there's any time limit, because I think it's like 8 o'clock over there, or it's about to be 8 o'clock something.
It is
so
still
if you
8
have
o'clock. If audience still have any question, then they can directly contact me through LinkedIn or any other way.
Okay, sure.
Like, is there a specific time limit for sure though? Like we need to close it in 2 hours, or like how does that look like?
I was asking.
No, we can go beyond that as well. But I think your lectures will be scheduled or somewhat.
I have to go to work at like 11, so I have 2 hours more.
Yeah, I've posted in the chat, like the chat can tell me what do we want to do. Do you want to extend or close? I've posted in the chat, just react and just like let me know.
To everyone, if you still have any doubts, we can circulate a form for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we can do one activity. We have actually started Instagram takeover, so we can schedule for you too as well. Like recently we have Ashutosh Bhaiya, and today we are having Pratik Bhaiya. So we can plan out that.
So I already have an Instagram takeover on the page. I hope you have saved it or something, because then these people can go look through it.
Okay.
I think we can take a couple of questions. I think it's for me. Initially, you mentioned that you were interested in robotics. How did you realize that the career in tech was the right path for you and that management was a better fit for your professional growth? Like I said, I think it's all about curiosity. It's like I often like, just in 2 points I'll answer this question. First thing is curiosity. Like I was naturally curious about knowing more about like management, businesses, all of that stuff. So like curiosity led me to exploring that path even more. That does not mean that I hate robotics. Like I keep on saying this very, very often. If it were offline college and from the first year I was in college and I was working with robotics club, pretty sure I would be doing a master's in robotics or something right now. So it's not that I hate robotics, or anything technical. In fact, I also wanted to be a physics researcher at some point. So I don't hate any of those subjects. It's just that I love like, the things that I do right now even more than them. So like, even if you take away the things that I'm doing right now, I would be happily doing robotics and everything. But I mean, we can definitely chat in detail about like this thing on like on a meeting or something. Next question is that, hey, I don't know how to ask this, but how do you think AI will fruit into, and what sort of regulations are required for AI? Like we educate people about using ethical efficiently. Do you think that we should?
Anything vehicles.
Yeah, vehicle. Yeah, efficiently. Do you think that we should try with AI as well? I think Ayush is more qualified to answer this question, which is kind of funny. People have like laughed on it or something. Cool.
Yeah. So I am going to give a very nerdy answer, because we have these research groups in NCSU, and one important research group is ethics in AI. And I think what ethics in AI generally, so if you look at impact, right, over all the new technologies and things that have come out in the past, AI has the highest impact index for the future. Like AI is going to change landscapes across multiple career paths and multiple organizations and roles in the future. And one thing about societal structure and engineering, societal engineering, is that the higher the impact, the more regulation and protection you need to put around it, right? So the previous highest impact item was smartphones and social media. And the amount of regulation we have around social media, I think that should make it pretty evident about how important of an impact social media has. And so because AI has only reached an impact score so recently, there's still a lot of research going around the ethics of AI, how AI should be designed, the different regulations and laws. And the sad part is that when there's a lot of stuff going on about laws and regulation, there's also politics and governance involved, which is a subjective topic. So it isn't really my background or anyone's background as of today to answer this question. There's a lot of debates going on online, and I suggest that if you are really interested about this topic, you find such debates, such discussions, online forums where you can sort of express your views, understand which side of the argument you lie on, and I think you'll have a really fun time, regardless of wherever you stand.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is, how important is research, work, and extracurricular activities in your CV, even community service? I think you can start.
For MS specifically, I'll say if you are going for a thesis-based MS, research is of utmost importance, because unless you have background in research, the university has no other way to confirm whether you'll be able to go through your thesis or not. For non-thesis based MS programs, research work isn't that relevant, but it's always good to know that a candidate has done research work in the past. And especially if the research is published in a reputed journal, it adds a certain credibility to your profile. Other than that, research generally, most people in India don't have research because there aren't as many labs in India to support all the students. But having research on your resume will always help. Also, it does not have to be research in a lab, actually. I'm going to correct myself. Your independent research that you have done and posted on online forums like Medium or like some other journals, that also counts as independent research in the US. And that also can help you out. Provided that, the MS you're going for or your career goal, if it's more aligned with research than with product or with technology or with hands-on stuff, research shouldn't have that much of an impact on your profile. But if you are aligned with those things, then research will. And extracurricular is always good, man. I don't know about its impact on your CV, but it adds a lot of personality to your profile. It tells a lot more about who you are in real life as a person outside of your role. And especially, I think through extracurricular, you also get to meet a lot of new people, gain perspectives. And I think that's what's more important about your extracurricular. Just being part of a club isn't something that people care about, but what you have done as a group, as a team, if you have led any event, if you've led a social event, done any philanthropy, I think that's the part of the extracurricular that actually matters, and not just being part of a group just for the sake of the name.
Totally. I think for extracurriculars, research, of course, I'm not an expert in it, so I can't talk about it. But I think extracurriculars is, like I mentioned, right? Work on side projects, have something running parallelly, like with your academics and stuff. That does really help. Like I said, it could be a technical side project, could be non-technical side project. That does really help. Apart from that, I think being involved with clubs at college also helps. But, one of the things that I sort of like, again, this is a very personal choice. I'm not going to advise anything to anyone. This is a very personal thing that I can talk about. Get involved only with those clubs who are going to contribute to you professionally. Like, see clubs which are into product management. Like, I'm pretty sure like PICT does not have a product club, but like coding club or like whatever, ACM, like all the software related clubs that you have, robotics club, which is like in electronics. Get involved with those clubs who are also contributing to you professionally. And apart from that, if you have time, then contribute to the clubs which are catering to your hobbies, like debating society or the theater group at PICT, all of that. this is not to disregard anything like, this club is better, that club is better, this and that. I'm not trying to get into that sort of a debate. All I'm saying is that if you think that, I mean the thing is, if you do your side projects, your academics, job preparation and all of that, along with it you are trying to do some non-academic or non-professional aligned work, I don't know how good that is for your professional benefit. First, all I'm trying to say is, like, putting it straightforward, focus on your professional development first and then your hobbies later, at least for like the first couple of first 3 years, and then maybe in your fourth year and so when you have some time at your disposal, you can try something else. But I mean, I'm pretty bullish on being involved in the clubs who contribute to your professional development. And it's not just to be a member over there. Initiate something, initiate some activities, think out of the box. Like, what are the things that you can do? I think that should really help. Talking about community service comes in a different form. I'm assuming that even technically this is also a part of a community service, if I'm not wrong. So it comes in different forms. See if you can contribute to your juniors when you all become the seniors. So one of the things that I used to do is that when I was in my third year, second year, I used to conduct sessions for my school, the school kids back in their teenage years and stuff. I've conducted a couple of workshops for them as well. Couple of workshops, one at PICT, one at PCCOA, where I was invited. So I used to do these things when I was in my third year, contributing to second year. See if you can somehow initiate and formalize that thing. Your extracurriculars and community service. It needs to come on the page is what I'm saying. So try initiating some things like a mentorship. One of the things that I really want, this is one thing that I want to add, and I would be very, very happy to mentor these people, especially in the first and second year. I want someone to take this initiative of passing it on to the juniors. So here, what I've seen, one thing that I've seen here at NYU is second year students are mentoring first year students in whatever career streams that they're into. Third year students are mentoring second years, fourth are mentoring the third years. So this culture I have somehow felt is missing at PICT. If there is someone over here who is willing to take that initiative in PICT, because I talk to this person at PICT, he's my mentor, Nitin Patil sir. I don't know how many people know him. Nitin Patil sir, Power Lab. Please go talk to him. Take this initiative ahead. I would want someone to take this initiative ahead in PICT, and I'd be happy to mentor them, support them to establish this culture at PICT. So my point is keep on doing a lot of extracurriculars. Does really help. Someone should go and meet him. I don't know how many people know him. Nitin Patil sir. He sits on the ground floor. After the TNP office, there is a power lab. He sits there. So,
actually, we are doing this cohort system at PAST, which is not that much active, but it is still active up to some extent. So we are trying to make it as active as possible.
Absolutely, more than happy to mentor you guys. Any help, any sort of help, more than happy to give that.
I think there was a very good quote that I had heard from my senior. I think it was Ashutosh Bhaiya or someone, but the quote was, be the senior that you would have wanted as a junior, right? So you have to sort of help your juniors out and also expect help from your seniors. I think both of them are important.
Yeah.
Okay. How should one prepare for roles in management? Is pursuing an MS or MBA crucial for getting into these positions?
Pursuing roles in management, I think there is a very interesting quote from Stanley Kubrick. I don't know if you know this person. He's a very famous director. The best way to learn to make a film is to actually make a film. It's a very famous quote, and I sort of resonate with it. So again, the thing is to work on side projects, take leadership, understand. You can read many books about businesses. You can talk to many people building their businesses, but unless you do things hands-on, you won't really understand what it really takes to build a business. So I think one of the key ways through which you can build an expertise in this is to really see what kind of startups exist in Pune or Bangalore whenever you are free. Try to cold mail these people, I would want to learn about this, would want to meet and chat and all of that, and see if you can network your way through finding something in management. That is one way of doing it, like internships and side projects. Internships and side projects, definitely, if you start something of your own, doesn't matter how big or small it is, I think that does also really help. Like I mentioned, if you are taking a part in let's say, scaling the mentorship program that PASK is working on right now. Take leadership, go all in, work on those things, scale that community, scale. I think you'll get to learn a lot about how to scale a business, which is, I mean, it's pretty similar to like when you scale the community. Understand problem statements of people, what do they have, what do they need, take initiates, do all of those things. I think it will give you a very good experience in management for side projects or like positions and all of that. That is one thing. Does MBA and higher education needed? Yes. For especially breaking into consulting roles, especially if you're talking about India, IIT Bombay is the only place where companies come and hire BTech people as consultants without getting an MBA degree. But for most of the consulting roles or even similar roles in India, high profile roles, you will need a management degree. But that again being said, if you can network your way through these systems, you can still get into a techno management role without really needing to get a management education.
So I have no background in this knowledge, but a logical conclusion I make is, do you have the skills to get such a management job? If yes, then you need to have experiences to show those skills, and then you're eligible. If no, you need an MBA to get that skill. I think that's the end.
That's so Sanika, can you please present vote of thanks for them? Before that, can everyone please turn on their camera so that we can have a group photo? I request everyone to turn on their camera. Ashlesh, please enable their permission. Yeah, everyone can turn on their camera.
I think we've covered all the questions in the chat, right? Pretty much everything. I think there's just one thesis question which I think you can DM Ayush and he can
definitely,
I guess. Yeah. That's pretty much it, I guess.
I think peak was we had 144 people at one point.
170. 70 over 170. Yep.
Nice.
It's a 2-hour session. A lot of people loved it.
Still, most of them are not showing up to turn on their camera.
It's fine. It's if like people can turn on. Very good.
I mean, it's 8. I think 8 p.m. there. People are at home. I don't think they want to show their faces. It's fine.
Most of them must be having like Warren Bhat or something with the session.
Hey, actually, we have a great number of people. They're watching while they're having like dinner. That's crazy.
Yeah, bro.
Hope you guys had a good meal.
Yes, Sanika, please continue with vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Good morning to Ayush Bhaiya and Sohan Bhaiya. As we come to the end of this insightful and engaging session, as a member of PICT, on behalf of PICT ACM student chapter, I would like to extend a vote of thanks. First and foremost, a huge thank you to Ayush Gala and Sohan Joshi for taking the time to share your personal experiences and invaluable insights with us. Your guidance on financial aspects, scholarship, and overall journey of pursuing MS abroad has provided immense clarity and inspiration to everyone present today. A special thanks to our enthusiastic audience. Your participation, thoughtful questions, and keen interest. Your engagement truly made this session interactive and enriching. Lastly, a big shout out to the organizing team behind this event for its smooth execution. We hope today's session has given you valuable takeaways that will help to your MS journey. Stay connected with us for more such insightful sessions. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening, everyone. And if you have any additional questions, you can, of course, reach out to Sohan and me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, whichever platform.
Totally. Just send when you're connecting on LinkedIn, right? Just send a small note that you had attended the session, so it's easier for us to like filter out people and then accept connection requests. Yeah, I think
Also,
thank you so much.
Sharing their profiles in the chat box. If you want that, you can connect with them.
For sure.
And also, we'll try to connect with both of you. How can we conduct such sessions in future as well? Also, the Instagram takeover. So we'll look after that as well.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. And sorry for the initial inconvenience caused for just technical issues.
Fine, man.
So, yeah.
You gave us time to make coffee, so it's fine.
Okay, so we can end now.
All right.
Sir.
Bye.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Storm, you and me will connect sometime.
Yeah, we'll have a meeting. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Yep. Bye. See you.
Bye.
Someone raised their hand. Someone has a question. I don't know. Someone raised their hand. No. Okay. Okay. Let's wait till I think everyone's about to leave. Someone has that thesis-based question.
Yeah. So a thesis-based master's generally is based. You have to work on a single problem for I think 2 semesters straight. It's not all, like the entire 2 semesters. That's not all you do, but that is one part of the coursework that you undertake. So you work with a guide, you work with an advisor who you select a problem statement, and then your master's degree is based on the fact that you publish a significant contribution in that particular domain. And that's the thesis based. It's mostly helpful if you want to land a research role in a specific domain. It's much more specialized, and it helps if you are going to pursue a PhD after your master's.
Yeah.
A non-thesis based master's, you don't have to submit a thesis. It's more of a technical, for computer science or engineering fields, it's more of a technical master sort of thing. You equip yourself with the different tools and technologies for a job, and you basically just trying to get into the job market to earn some money. And so the courses are much more practical. They're much more based on real implementations and assignments and projects. Little less research, less reading of research papers, less interacting with labs and researchers. And there's also different funding opportunities in both of them. Generally, thesis-based masters are linked to a certain lab in the institution, which then might even fund you or a part of your fees. And so this differs from university to university. So you should really just look at the university website. And if you don't mind research, or if you actually like research, a thesis-based master's isn't that bad.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're done. I think we can leave.
Yep. All right.
Any other?
Everyone. Good night.
Just a second. Any other question? Final check. I think Vaibhav raised his hand, so I think he has a question. Vaibhav has a question. I think he raised his hand.
Can you unmute? Type in the chat.
Okay, I think we can leave because I don't think anyone has questions. Okay, bro. I'll see you.
Hello.
We will connect sometime.
Okay, bye. Both of you.
Is Vaibhav speaking?
No.
Okay.
Oh, cool then. I'll see you, bro. Bye.
Yes. Bye. Cheers.